It's time now for some real education. This whole week on the Dr. Duke Show, we are doing Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels. Now, why, you might ask? Back when we used to teach real books in schools, your kids probably would have been at some point exposed to at least part of Gulliver's Travels. It is a remarkable book, 18th century Jonathan Swift. It's all about a guy who realizes that unless you understand the mores, the attitudes, the beliefs, the religions of other people, it's hard for you to gauge your own moral compass. How do you know what's right if you don't have other examples that contradict or challenge what you believe? So the premise of Gulliver's Travels is beautiful. Gulliver leaves home. He sees the world. In fact, he sees places in the world that had never been discovered before. We are all probably moderately familiar with his first trip. There are 4 books, 4 trips. The first trip to the land of the Lilliputians, right? We all have images of this, of Gulliver being bolted down to the ground by these tiny little people. He turns out to be a giant among midgets. In the second book, not surprisingly, he is the midget in a country he discovers full of giants, right? And as Swift himself said, everything that you believe based on your perspective, which is exactly right. You believe what you believe based on what you have seen and what you have seen from others. It's a measurement game. And so this idea of perspective, and you see how brilliantly Swift is exploiting it. At one point, Gulliver the human is a tiny little thing compared to the Brobdingnagians. Then in another time, he's the giant, and this other race of human beings is pygmies. And some really wonderful contrasts are laid. So I want to share some of the wisdom of Gulliver's Travels with you. Here's our first quote. The tiny Lilliputians surmise that Gulliver's watch may be his god, because it is that which, he admits, he seldom does anything without consulting. Now that's kind of a neat quote. He's got this timepiece, and that watch is probably as big as a garage to the Lilliputians. But what does it say about us, us human animals in Western culture, that we consult our watches so often? You would think that our watch is our god, that time owns us. And you want to fast forward this to the contemporary world, where at cell phones, how often we have to connect with our cell phones. Yeah, if you were a Martian who flew down to Earth and you see how much time every day we were taking out phones, we were staring at screens while we're walking, while we're eating, while we're recreating, while we're in the company of friends, everything is that phone. Maybe the Lilliputians are right to point out from their perspective, that must be the god of human beings in that culture, because they spend more time on it, with it, and investigating it than anything else that they do all day. Maybe technology has become a god.